feels natural to protect, you
Yes.
know, but it took a while for me to be able to uncover this, actually to discover it,
Yes.
because I was running a lot of rackets in my life. And I just really realized that the rackets that I was running in my life was a result of what I was going through when I was a child, because I felt like something was taken from me.
Mm.
And I always feel like people are always trying to get something from me, take something away from me. They're either going to get it by asking or take it by force. You know what I mean? Steal
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, and it could be something subtle as the children not washing the dishes like I told them to. And I walk in the kitchen and I see the dishes in the sink. And I'm like, whose day is it to wash dishes? You know, well, it's not mine, it's so and so's. And so I'm like, okay, I need these dishes washed. And if they didn't wash the dishes, I would go off into a little rampant rage because I felt like this is what I require and this is not what I'm getting. So I feel like you're using me when you don't do what I asked you to do.
Sisters, hey, little girl, are you looking for hope in the world that has lied to you about who you really are? Wrong woman, holding in story she needs to tell what God really wants you to do in this world. In His name, hope to break free from the shackles and the lies.
Welcome back to Stacy Speaks Hope. Our guest today wants to help women as a nurse to go beyond the medical approach, to find a natural way to heal, find balance, and feel vibrant. Nurse Stacy Scott has an approach that touches your emotions, the physical trauma, and maybe she's got some stories to tell about that, through health challenges and high blood pressure, cholesterol, bariatric surgery, complete transformation. But she knows that it's important to not just be about diet, but it's about your mind. And she wants to help women go through what she's gone through and share her story so they can be aligned, body, mind, and soul. Welcome today, Nurse Stacy.
Thank
Please
you.
feel free to add anything I missed. We're so happy to have you.
Yeah. Yeah. Mind, body, soul, and spirit.
Spirit. Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Such a pleasure.
Thank you. So here we are. We've chatted a little bit. When you think of your little girl and the healing journey that she's been on, what comes to your mind? Where do you start? And take us through the story.
Well, when I think of my little girl, I think back when I was about maybe 12 or 13 years old, when I really started to realize that I was trying to get away from something that was, traumatic to me. And I didn't know how to explain it. I didn't know who to tell. I didn't know who to go to. And I just felt like I just had to get away. And yeah. Yeah. So as I realized I needed to get away, I was thinking, where am I going to go? I have nowhere to go because there are places, most of the places that I went to were places that induced the trauma or kept the trauma going or
Mm,
perpetuated it. So it was really no place to go where I actually felt safe.
okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm going to wind you back just a little bit as we're telling the story. 11 or 12 is a little girl. But before that, what's the little girl? What was her life? What was her experience before that that got you to, at 12 years old, feel like, oh my gosh, I got to get out of here? What was happening? How far back can you remember your little girl? You said you didn't feel safe at 12. Was there a time before that that you did feel safe and something changed?
Well, to be honest, I don't remember what age it was.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot recall what age it was. It was somewhere in elementary school. So I would say that I had to be about somewhere between 7 and 9 years old when I really began to feel like I had nowhere to go or who to turn to.
So what was happening?
Well, what was happening is that I was being abused sexually.
Mm.
And it was in places that I frequent, family homes that I went to.
Mm.
And I was frequently there. So in my own home, and then in the home of my grandparents.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
So
as a
that's
little
where I
girl,
frequently went. So where else was it for me to go?
right.
There was no place else to go. Home, grandparents, school. Yeah.
Do you remember, I guess, do you remember before that? Do you remember how you felt before that? I'll just take it a little bit farther back just to see what comes up for you.
But I remember before that, it has to be things that are in school. And so how I was treated in school, but way back then in school, the teachers were like really strict back then. So there were certain things that you couldn't do. You couldn't come to school with pants on. If you came to school with pants on, then you would get a paddle on your butt.
Oh,
Those
wow.
pants that were round at the top and they had the handle with the ball attached. So
Oh, those, like the
you
game
would
thing.
you would
Nobody
get,
wanted to play that game after seeing.
yeah. And the parents knew it too.
Yeah.
So back then, being chastised or, disciplined with a paddle or something like that from your teacher was common. And
Mm-hmm.
the parents knew it. So,
Right.
but if the parents weren't at home to make sure that you didn't have on pants when you left,
Mm.
they wouldn't know until you got home.
You got in
So,
trouble twice for leaving the house not dressed right and for getting in trouble at school, huh?
right.
And
So
you had to get yourself ready.
yeah. I remember getting paddled for not wearing the proper attire that was, the school's
So was it
attire.
uniform?
It wasn't a uniform. We just had to wear dresses.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And what state was this in?
Michigan.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The paddle I remember from my elementary school looked like an oar.
Mm-hmm.
It was long.
That's a stick, isn't it?
It had a round head on it and then a handle. I
uh-huh.
never got it, but I saw it and I was like, I don't think so. What we got to do not to have that?
Right. Yeah.
So strict, very strict elementary, very strict school. So do you remember any safe spaces, happy places, anybody that you felt saw you, loved you? What about siblings and other kids, friends?
To be honest, no. And maybe that's why I felt like I had nowhere to go or
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know who to turn to. And that's probably why it drug out for so long without it really being addressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember being told that you couldn't go to anybody, shouldn't go to anybody, or didn't have anybody to go to? Was that seed also planted?
It wasn't. And that's the weird thing about it. I was
Mm.
never told, you better not tell anybody, or
Mm.
you better not say anything, or I was never told that.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was weird. If I was, I don't remember
Yeah.
if I was.
Mm.
Yeah,
And did you have siblings?
I did. Twin sister, older sister, and a brother.
Oh,
Mhm.
wow.
Yeah, my
And
younger brother.
you didn't even feel safe enough to tell them. Did they know what was happening to you? Was it happening to them too?
I just recently found out, actually, to be honest with you, I just recently found out um, to a, a higher degree of how it happened with my sister,
Oh, wow.
my oldest sister, not my twin sister.
Not your
I
twin.
never talked about it with my twin sister. So I don't know if she was affected by it or if it was just me in my own home. And, outside the home, I just didn't have those conversations.
Right.
But I do remember having the conversation with my mother after I was an adult, that is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so not back then.
Okay. So she had no idea.
I don't know if she had any idea. I just recently found out that my grandmother knew, because that was one of the questions I wanted to ask her.
Right.
Because I always said in my mind, when I get this age, I'm going to say something about it. Or when this person is gone, I'm going to bring it up. Or,
Wow.
So I, in my mind, I was saying, when he leaves or when he dies, I'm going to tell my grandmother, but I couldn't find myself doing it. I couldn't put myself to putting the question out there. Did you know? But about, I would say less than 15 years ago, I did ask my mom, and she suffered the same trauma.
You're not naming the lineage, but I'm connecting dots. So hopefully I'm not making stuff up. So same person, your mom, you, and your sister.
Yes. Well, with my oldest sister, I only knew about in my own household, not at my grandparents' house. So that was something that was brought out in more detail just this week.
This week?
Just this week, yeah.
Ooh, like the Lord knew you were going to be on here talking about this today. So he's like, give
so,
some more to your story, sweetheart.
I think so. And lately, I've talked to my brother about it. I say within the last 6 months, I've talked to, my nephew about it. The men who didn't know that this was going on was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that you were going through all of that.
Oh.
And so, I mentioned it to a niece of mine who didn't go through what we went through because she was the one who had a big mouth. This is the way she put it. I had a big mouth and I went and told grandmama about it. And
so he tried with her too.
That's how I knew my grandmother knew. But I just found out this week that my grandmother knew.
But your cousin, your niece, told your grandmother when it happened and it stopped.
It stopped for her.
Right.
Back then.
Clear. Thank you for the clarification.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was good.
She had a big mouth.
Right.
And it probably didn't stop for me because I never said anything.
And what I want to read into that, because as a life coach, I want to tease that apart. It sounds like you're not telling and even planning to tell when he dies. You were protecting him. Something in you said to protect him or to protect your grandmother, but there was something about the external person that you were more careful with than yourself. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And yes, I was in a protective mode. Ask me why, I can't tell you. Maybe later on I'll be able to figure it out. But it was a dual role that he was playing. And sometimes I think now, looking back on that dual role, I tried to protect his image of what everybody thought about him.
So what was his image?
Well, we grew up in the church. Like most people who suffer some of these things, I can't say most, but a lot of people who suffer these traumatic events in their households and in their families have some kind of spiritual background, and he belonged to the church, raised us in the church. And so it was a dual message to me, And so maybe that's the reason why I love God. And I know who God is. and I am a person of faith, and can't take that away from me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that was ingrained in me when I was younger. And so to not be able to say something about what's going on with you because of the perception of others, I hid that. And that's like me, like really right now realizing that, like just this moment, that yeah, that's the reason why I hid it, because I was protecting him and my grandmother from whatever stigma may have come upon them as a result of anybody found out that this was going on. What would they think?
So the
But
phrase
all
I'm
along,
hearing,
all along I was saying, one day I'm going to tell it.
so you suffered in silence.
I did. I did. Yeah.
As I talk about the little girl healing journey, I want you to make sure you take a moment to honor that little girl. She took on adult responsibilities.
Yeah.
At that moment, Stacy, you decided, I need to protect the adults in my life when they're supposed to be taking care of me.
How crazy is that?
It's crazy, but I just want you to know that, to honor that little girl, because she said, I'm going to do the grown up thing because the grown ups ain't acting right here.
Right. Absolutely.
And to have it happen in two households, and the thread of your mother went through that at home, and then you were in a household as a child where your mother was one of the heads of the household, and you went through it again. As you're watching this podcast, I just want to jump in and offer you the opportunity to get a hold of your own copy of the No More Lies guided workbook and healing journal. Because what it's about is you hear our guests share their stories, is a place to unpack those things in your life that cause you to have behaviors and patterns and responses that come from some story, some belief, some action, some reaction that your little girl had. A seed that was planted that might not have been true. We call it a lie because it's not the identity that God created us to be. And in him and through him do we seek him to find the truth according to who he created us to be, for the purpose he's called us to go out in the earth to do and to be. So here it is, No More Lies, guided workbook and healing journal. And it takes you through some prompts and steps and encourages you just to stay on the path. You can get your own copy at stacyspeakshope.com, STACI speakshope.com. And I'll send you a signed copy and offer you an opportunity to work on it in a group as a workshop, because sometimes it's hard to do this work alone. So keep listening, stay tuned, and we'll drop the link so you can get the copy for yourself. Thank you and be blessed.
Yeah.
What comes to mind when you even hear it stated like that?
Ancestral trauma.
Yes.
Trauma that's been going on for who knows how long.
Right.
And sometimes I think about, like, I even think about in the Bible, Adam and Eve, when they had Cain and Abel, and God said, be fruitful and multiply. And a whole generation of people came from them. And because a whole generation of people came from them, how were they able to be fruitful and multiply? They did it amongst themselves. So back then, it wasn't viewed as molestation or sexual abuse. So this goes way back. Way back.
I mean, and they married their relatives.
They married relatives
because they didn't want the interlineage of the other people.
God did not want them to marry anybody else or procreate outside of their own family.
Correct.
So I thought about that way back, but I was like, okay, so that's not socially acceptable nowadays, and neither
Right.
was it. I don't think it was back when I was a child, but maybe the generations thought it was okay.
Well, your little girl knew it wasn't okay because you would have said something. So let's start with the honest part. Honest part inside of you said, this ain't okay.
This ain't
And because
okay.
it's so not okay, I'm not gonna put you on blast.
Right.
But when you're not here, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna tell. So you knew.
Mm-hmm.
And what I will say, the word that came up earlier, phrase that came up earlier when you talked about this happening with people in the church, what that does to distort your perception
Mm-hmm.
of God, church, religion as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
You're 7 or 8.
Right.
You're like, is this right or isn't it? And if it isn't, because I know it isn't inside, what's this? How does this happen with these people who show up in church to be godly representatives? How now the misrepresentation of love
Mm-hmm.
as a child? How do
Mm-hmm.
you got to process that. Hence
Yeah.
the trauma. The trauma was like, this is not what's supposed to happen. And inside, I know it.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we're supposed to pretend. And you took on the role to protect
Yeah.
the perpetuators.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that of course it makes your mind try to make sense of that.
Yeah. I was always trying to protect people's feelings
Mm,
at the jeopardy of my own,
yeah.
you know.
So when did
Then
that
you have to
change?
wait. When did that change?
Yeah.
I would say about mm, maybe 5 years ago when I asked my mom, did it happen to you?
Mm.
That's when the table started to turn a little bit, just a little bit. But I asked her, did it happen to her? And she said, yes, it did.
And
Yeah.
yet she took you over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But see, and the reason I asked that question, Stacy, is because for decades your mindset was, I've got to protect other people at my own expense. In your
Yeah.
brain, there was something that said, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
That's a heavy burden to
Yeah, it is.
carry from childhood into adulthood, and the fact that the cycle continued, that you kept that now that extended, right? What other types of situations and relationships, now that you think of it, did you protect other people's feelings at your own expense? Can you think of any?
Um, mm, Not right off the top of my head.
And because
But I
it's so
always
natural, that makes it, it's just like, this is what
it
I
just
do.
feels natural to protect, you
Yes.
know. But it took a while for me to be able to uncover this, actually to discover it,
Yes.
because I was running a lot of rackets in my life. And I just really realized that the rackets that I was running in my life was a result of what I was going through when I was a child, because I felt like something was taken from me.
Mm,
And I always feel like people are always trying to get something from me, take something away from me. They're either going to get it by asking or take it by force. You know what I mean? Steal
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Whatever. So, and it could be something subtle as the children not washing the dishes like I told them to. And I walk in the kitchen and I see the dishes in the sink. And I'm like, whose day is it to wash dishes? You know, well, it's not mine, it's so and so's. And so I'm like, okay, I need these dishes washed. And if they didn't wash the dishes, I would go off into a little rampant rage. because I felt like this is what I require and this is not what I'm getting. So I feel like you're using me when you don't do what I asked you to do. That little subtle thing right there, just, and it could be little triggers
Right.
of people asking me for something, taking something away from me, that, or not even the triggers of that, but the idea that they may even be thinking about doing it, or
Oh, wow. They didn't even have to actually do it, huh?
they don't have to actually do it, but a trigger would happen. And I think way back about what happened to me and say that you're taking advantage of me. You know what I mean? You're using me. You know, I don't want to clean up behind you. You clean up your own mess, that kind of thing. So if I have to clean up behind you, clean up your mess, and you not clean up your own mess, I feel like you're using me to do that. So that was one of the triggers that I was really running a racket around.
So when you say running a racket for our audience, that once you break that down a little bit more.
Running a racket is when something triggers you, you just automatically fly off the handle. And you just talk until you get out everything that you want to say. Y'all just using me. Y'all don't do what I say. And, you know, all of the stuff I do for you guys, and you don't appreciate me, and just on and on and on. And I'm just like, and there's like, here she go again, ranting and raving, just running her mouth. And when is she going to shut up? And, you know, I'm going to wash them, leave me alone, that kind of thing. And I just on and on and on. You don't hear me. You don't understand. And I just on and on and on. And that was the racket I was running, that every time I felt like something was triggering me, I would just go off and just start trying to explain myself on how I felt about why you weren't doing what I was wanting you to do, or, you know, because I felt that way. I really felt like when people didn't do what I wanted them to do, they were using me.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you see the connection to your little girl?
I do. And like I said, I just recently discovered that.
Yeah.
I discovered it, and I literally wrote letters to my grandchildren. I wrote a letter to my husband. I spoke to them and I told them, I said, you know what? I just really realized that when you guys do this or that, when you don't do what I say, or when you don't acknowledge my feelings or something like that, in the back of my mind, I feel like you are using me. And I realized that what you guys are doing has nothing to do with what I experienced a long time ago. So I told them, I just recently told them what I experienced when I was younger.
Oh.
I was molested. I was abused. And every time you do this, it triggers something in me, and it makes me feel like you're using me, when actually it's attached to something different, and it had nothing to do with you not washing the dishes. It had nothing to do with you not honoring my feelings, or you not doing what I required of you to do. It had all to do with what I went through when I was younger. And I realize that now. So I tell them, if I go running a racket, just say, hey, stop. You know, and I used to say that, I did that for my older grandchildren, because I adopted 3 grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
And so the oldest grandchild that I adopted, I didn't get a chance to share that with her. And I ran major rackets on her.
Wow.
Because I didn't realize where it was coming from, but now I do. Yeah. Yeah.
What I hear is that little girl who was silenced, you were saying everything or things that she may have wanted to say.
Oh yeah.
That,
Yeah.
if I were your
sure.
life coach, I would say, write a letter to her or from her to who she needed to say that to. Granted, you've said it and you've acknowledged some things, but straight from her to him and whoever else.
Yeah.
And really let them have it.
Yeah.
Like you've let the people close to you in front of you have it, but talk to that person, because there's probably still a little bit left in there.
Yeah.
You've
A
learned to
little bit.
manage it, but give her that voice because she's like, you know what? I'm not gonna be quiet now. I might be over the top in the situation I'm in, but I am going to say what I needed to say
Yeah.
and live that next level of freedom.
Yeah.
So,
I'm no
but
longer quiet about it.
yeah, but
And I
you
might
didn't
say
say to
this,
those people. This is to say to those people. I want
mhm,
to say to you, da 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 da. Da.
yeah, I'm yet to write those letters.
So I encourage you. If you were my
Yeah.
if you were my client, that's what I would. That would be an activity I would invite you try just to see does that release anything new. To talk to your
Yeah.
accused, talk to your abusers
Hmm.
with now all that's built up and all that's come out in other places. I just shifted over because the light was on me, blinding me.
Yeah. So I'm definitely going to take your advice and do that
Wonderful.
because I'm working on a lot of things right now, a
Hmm.
lot ancestral trauma stuff and looking back in
Yeah.
my past, seeing why I am or what's connected to who I am today
Hmm.
and where did I come from and how do I get where I am today and how am I able to process this trauma? Yeah.
That's good. In that healing journey, what do you tend to? How do those things come up? How do you see yourself and even your family around you, your mother, your grandmother, when you're looking at your ancestral trauma, does that do you look at them as part of it or tell us a little bit more about that?
I look at them as part of it now because I just recently have knowledge of um, that I have knowledge of it happening to them.
Right.
And so I look at them as a part of it. And I'm looking at it from the standpoint of what I felt about having to protect people.
Mm,
They must have felt the same way,
yes,
you
that's
know,
good.
because my niece told me something. I'm like, girl, why you didn't tell me this before? And it's traumatic events around that, very traumatic events around that.
Hmm.
And she's like, I don't know. But she said, what I could tell you is that he didn't mess with me because I had a big mouth. I would tell. And I remember because she lived with them. She lived with my grandparents, her and her two brothers for a while my older sister was trying to get her life together and rehabilitation and stuff like that. And she said, I told grandmama, and I would lay in the bed with her and I say, Granddaddy trying to touch me, and she would just move me to the other side of the bed. I'm like, what? And I said, so she knew? She's like, yeah, she knew. I told her. I would tell her all the time. And that was news to me, like just a couple days ago. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
Wow.
So all along, I'm trying to protect her feelings.
And she knew.
And she knew.
How did you feel toward her when you found out about that? I know that's a I almost
You mean
didn't say
like
it,
just
but
recently, how did I feel about her? It's hard to say because I'm still there in that protective mode
yeah,
because I'm feeling like what happened to her little girl?
I love that sense of compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happened to my mom's little girl? And then her little girl, and then her mom's little girl. Like I said, this is generations old,
Yeah.
ancestral deep,
Right.
and no excuse for it. I'm not giving no excuse for it because I
No.
still feel like it should not have happened to me. And it shouldn't have happened to my mother. And I don't know if it happened to my grandmother because I never had that conversation with her.
Hmm.
But if I was to guess, I would say, yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Why are you protecting your husband? How did he grow up? What
Exactly.
was his mom and dad like? Where do I get those answers? Like now, like I'm thinking to myself, man, I should have asked those questions a long time ago. Maybe I would have gotten more answers because some people were still alive back then,
Yeah.
you know?
And maybe you
But
wouldn't because of the generational perpetuation of this, the secrets
mhm,
have also been perpetuated
yeah,
and preserved.
yeah,
But the fact that your heart wasn't just mad at her, didn't just blame her, but had compassion for her little girl shows there's a grace and a in you to
yeah,
first think of what did she go through? And
yeah,
then for your mother to have that happen in her household, that it happened again,
yeah,
not just with grandpa, but now you didn't say who it was, but
yeah,
in your mother's household.
yeah. Because I think about the times when I was a young girl and I was with my grandmother on my father's side, and looking back on how my mom told me about her and how she felt about her husband and the role she had to play as a wife and mother, and how heartbroken she was when she passed away. And she believed that she had a stroke. Well, she had a stroke and she passed away in the hospital. My mom believes that she didn't want to come back home.
Mm,
She didn't want to come back to that. And I don't remember a lot of happy memories with her. I do
mm,
remember going to her house and she was babysitting us. And we would sit in the living room and watch TV. And I did wanted to be comforted by her. I wanted to be close to my grandmother. So I jumped up on the couch because she would always tell us, get on the floor, get off my couch. And one day I'm like, I ain't listening to her. I'm getting on the couch. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to scoot a little closer to her. And I lay my head down on her. And when I laid my hand down on her, she said, get up off of me. And I was like, oh, that hurt my feelings so bad.
oh,
She didn't want me to touch her. And looking
mm,
back on that, maybe she didn't want her husband to touch her either.
mm.
It's just like, what was connected to that? Why didn't she want that closeness? Or why wasn't she able to show affection
Yeah,
for me as her grandchild?
as a little
And I
girl.
don't know if my other cousins or sisters experienced that, but I was like, when you like, for me, I'm like,
Like, yeah.
yeah. And so my mom believed that, she didn't want to come home because of the abuse she may have suffered from her husband. And I don't know if she really did or not, but I did know that she was a housewife and she didn't work and she was in the house and she was always there cooking or cleaning and watching kids. And so he was out working and doing what he do, you know. And I can remember some incidents even in her household where some of her sons tried to make advances of me
Mm.
because then everybody slept in one bed,
Oh,
you know. There wasn't no 3, 4 bedrooms and, you
yeah,
know, three or
right.
four beds in a bedroom or bunk beds and all that kind of stuff. No, y'all all pile up in bed together. Y'all sleep on the floor. It was like a pajama party or something. I don't know. But
Right.
that's the way it was back then. So protecting, you know,
Wow.
people
Yeah.
was, I think you brought that out just in this session that, yeah, that's what I was doing,
Yeah.
not realizing it. But in a sense, I was because I kept saying, like I said, if my grandfather dies, I'm telling my grandmother. And then when my grandmother died, that's when I asked my mom
So you were
because
waiting for her, not to.
yes. So it's like, why did I have to wait till so many people die before I actually said something about all of this?
Mm, wow.
So my feelings were involved, and now my feelings are very important to me because how I move in life now,
Hmm.
holistically speaking, how I, you know, deal with this trauma, with the way I look at life holistically. Because when I
Hmm.
went to school as a nurse, that was one of the first things that we were taught in the beginning class of nursing, that it's the whole person you have to think about.
That's
You
good.
know, there is a hierarchy of needs,
Yes.
and no
Maslow.
need should go unaddressed. And so
Yes.
that stuck with me.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get Maslow's hierarchy of needs. What about my spiritual being? You know, what about my body, my soul? Every part of me needs to be taken care of.
That's good.
And it wasn't until I adopted my grandchildren was when I really realized I have to start taking care of myself. I
Mm.
have to start dispelling some of these limited beliefs that I have.
Wow.
I have to start nurturing myself in self care. And I was afraid to go to places. I was afraid to get on
Mhm.
an airplane.
Okay.
I was afraid to do anything. So I decided, I got on my board sitting right up here, started in 2019. And I
Okay.
said on my board that this year I'm going to meet somebody of significance and I'm going to start my healing journey. Yeah, it's called being healed for a reason.
Yes.
If you're healed from your trauma, you don't go back there.
Right.
You can go back like I'm going back today and I'm revisiting it because I have worked myself through that trauma. And now I'm on the other side of it. Not saying it doesn't affect me, but it doesn't affect me like it used to affect me.
Right.
And now I can tell my story unapologetically with no concern about who hears this message.
Yes.
Because
And
that
that's what
was
I
the
was going to say. The healing helps you have a voice. The
yeah,
healing is so now that you can help other people.
yeah,
There's somebody that's tuned in today. You're hearing this today because you understand what Stacy's talking about,
yeah,
what Stacy Scott is talking about. And that was your experience. And you can relate to protecting the perpetrator and being
yeah,
curious about the people attached to them. Well, what happened to
mhm,
them?
yeah,
Out of love and compassion and curiosity, by the grace of God, you survived it.
yeah,
I was there to protect you, even in that, for this day.
yeah.
You study Joseph. All that he went through was so that he would be in the right place to save the children of Israel when the
A
famine came.
generation of people. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
generations. Yes.
yeah,
So if you're still here, there's a purpose even for the trauma.
yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you for your openness, your authenticity, for just sharing a very clear path of what this journey has been for you. Congratulations on the healing. And I know there's always more.
Hmm.
As I
Yeah,
share this work, there's more. You, just last week, right? Well,
yeah.
this has been such a pleasure. As I said, we went longer than I usually do. I want to make sure we get all the juice and all the nuggets out of this. So you may
Absolutely.
be a two-parter because I don't want anybody to
Anytime,
miss anything.
anytime. I got more stories to tell.
All right. Well, I love that. I appreciate you. If you're watching today, what parting words would you say to our audience, to our listeners?
Take care of yourself by any means necessary.
Mm.
Take the time to take care of yourself and focus on what's more important to you in your life. And don't neglect yourself from the standpoint of not allowing yourself to dig deep and ask yourself those questions that you want answered.
That's good.
Because sometimes we have questions that we don't have the answers to. Well, ask yourself those questions and dig deep for the answer. And when you get the answer, start your healing journey.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, if you are tuning in, we just want to thank you for listening. Thank you for joining, whether it's part one or part two. Listen to the advice that your healing journey begins with looking at yourself. If you're here today, this was not an accident. Nurse Stacy talks about being in alignment with mind, body, soul, and spirit, and starting with God so that you can find out what love is, love for yourself, that you can love others. As we talk about uncovering the lies that I talk about in No More Lies in Staci Speaks Hope, it's about getting to that truth so that there can be healing and wholeness. Thank you for joining us. We'll drop all of Nurse Stacy's contact information in our description so that you can follow her and learn more about ancestral trauma, her podcast, and her future holistic nurse transformation business. Be blessed. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you, and thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for watching Staci Speaks Hope. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. To schedule a free coaching call, the link is in the description.
Grown woman holding in story, she needs to tell what God really wants you to do in this world. In His name, hope to break free from the shackles and the lies that have become your truth and put blinders on your eyes. You built walls around your heart. You have plugged up your ears. Get freedom to hope's what you need. It's in reach. Wipe your tears.